Is manual better than autofocus? In this edition of Jules Voto's Photo Focus, I will answer that question. Now, autofocus has been around since the mid-'80s, and it's a great convenience. But sometimes, I think manual focus might be better. So when would manual focus be better than autofocus? Well, let me give you a few examples. One of the great things about mirrorless cameras is the ability to adapt almost any lens to them. And you can find these lenses, these vintage manual focus lenses, at a very good price. This Minolta 28mm 3.5 MC ROCOR, I think I paid like $30 or $40 for it. Whereas this 14-30 f4 Z-mount Nikkor zoom autofocus lens sells for over $1,000. Now, of course, the zoom is more convenient. It does have autofocus, but there are advantages to the manual focus lens, and not just price. One is that you have a depth of field scale on the lens. Autofocus lenses just don't have that. So what is the advantage of that? Well, let's say you're going out to do street photography, and you just want to be able to walk around with your camera, you see something, you put the camera up to your eye, and you take the shot. You don't want to have to worry about focusing. So what you can do with a manual focus lens is, let's say, set your distance to 10 feet. And let's say we're going to set our aperture to f8. Well, you don't have to worry about focusing if your subject is anywhere from approximately 5 feet to infinity. Now let's look at an example of that. Here we have the lens set to f8. You see at the bottom, I put a yellow box around the depth of field. You can see f8 is marked twice on the scale there. On the left, you see f8. You follow that up to the green foot marking, and it's 5. Same thing on the right, and you can see at f8 we are at infinity. And everything should be acceptably sharp within that range. With this 28mm lens focused to 10 feet, at f8, everything will be acceptably sharp from just a little over 5 feet to infinity. So you don't have to worry about focusing. Just bring the camera up to your eye and take the shot. Now here's another example with the aperture set to f11. We could see our depth of field extends from approximately 3.5 feet to infinity. So of course, as you stop the lens down, you get even more depth of field. Now another advantage of the manual focus lens is you can use it on your vintage manual focus film camera. You can't use this 14-30 Nikkor on a film camera. It just won't mount. There's no aperture ring. It just won't work. But you can get multiple uses out of the manual focus lens because it'll work fine. And I have right here a Minolta SRT. Let me take the adapter off. I have a Minolta SRT 102. And this lens will easily mount to that camera. There we go. And if I want to use it on my mirrorless camera, so I just take it off, place it on the adapter, and there we go. And I can mount it to my mirrorless camera. And these adapters are available for probably all mirrorless cameras, and they're very inexpensive. This Photossi MD to NZ adapter, I think I paid $15 for it. So I think that is a big advantage to manual focus lenses. Another is, if you like to use filters, filter size on the manual focus lenses generally are much smaller. This one takes 55mm filters. This zoom Nikkor takes 82mm filters. So you're going to spend less on filters. And the other thing with these manual focus lenses, since they are so cheap, you could experiment with a bunch of different lenses. And another thing, as I said, you don't have to worry about focusing. A lot of times what I'll do if I'm out with one of these lenses, I'll just pre-focus it, let's say to 10 feet, as I said earlier, and just walk down the street with the camera, holding it by my side. If I see something, I don't even need to raise the camera to my eye. I could just shoot from the hip. Now here are a few examples of that. This is with the Pentax 28mm 3.5, and I was just holding the camera by my side. My aperture was f11. It was a bright day, and I just fired off a few frames. And they're in focus. There's plenty of depth of field, as I've indicated earlier, when you stop these lenses down. Now here's one that I really like. This is with the 28mm 3.5 Minolta. And I know I would not have been able to get this shot if I had to raise the camera to my eye and focus. I was holding it at my hip. I saw her about to open the door. I just pointed it towards her and fired off a few frames. And the other nice thing with mirrorless cameras is silent operation is possible. And if your mirrorless camera has in-body image stabilization, well, you get that even with these old manual focus lenses. Now, are they as sharp as the modern mirrorless lenses? No, they're probably not. The newer lenses have better coatings, so they're better with flare, you get better contrast. But unless you're printing big, unless you're shooting into bright lights, these lenses work out fine. And I don't think you'd be able to tell the difference between a shot with this 28mm Rocore and this expensive Nikon zoom. So even though I own several high quality Nikon Z-mount lenses, I will continue to use my inexpensive manual focus lenses. I really like the 28mm focal length for street photography. Years past, I never really owned a 28. I would work with either a 24 or a 35, but I think the 28's really nice, gives you great depth of field, gives you a nice field of view, and they work out really well. And I have several of them. I have this Minolta, I have a Pentax, I have an Olympus Zuiko, a 28-35, I have a Canon, a Nikon 28-35, and they all work out good for this type of photography. And I really love the fact that you could pre-focus the lens and not have to worry about focusing. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. And if you like to use manual focus lenses on your mirrorless cameras, let me know that too. Let me know which lenses you prefer for street photography or any other type of photography. And I usually come out with a new video every Monday morning and Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So thanks for watching, and I will talk to you soon.